The 2025 WTA Year-End Championships are right around the corner, and the ladies are ready to rumble in Riyadh. The group placements are in, and we are already guaranteed rematches of both the Roland Garros and Wimbledon Finals, as the top two seeds, Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek, have some intriguing round-robin matchups. I'll break down the draw and talk about which four players have the best prospects of reaching the semifinal stage and ultimately lifting the winner's trophy. Hello, my name is Christian Bassenite, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more WTA Finals related content. So for a quick refresher, talking about the format of the finals, the 8 players are split into 2 groups in which each woman plays 3 round-robin matches, and then the top 2 players from each group, which is decided by the matches, sets, and even games won, and the round-robin stage matches will advance to the knockout stage, the semifinals. And the top player from one group will end up playing the second player from the other group, if that makes sense, in the semifinals. And this is an indoor tournament which is set to play faster than Beijing and Wuhan, but it's not really lightning fast. The ball bounce can be high at times, as Riyadh is at an altitude of about 2,000 feet. So first, starting out with the groups and looking at the Steffi Graf group, which starts play on Sunday, we have a world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, number 3 Coco Gauff, number 5 Jessica Pegula, and number 8 Jasmine Paolini. And then the Serena Williams group, which starts play on Saturday, is headlined by number 2 Iga Swiatek, number 4 Amanda Anisimova, number 6 Rybakina, and number 7 Madison Keys. I am disappointed that we would not get, or we're not guaranteed, our long-awaited second ever Gauff Rybakina match, but there is hope that they can maybe play in the semifinal rounds or even the finals, so we have to wait and see. Looking at the Graf group, starting with Aryna Sabalenka, of course Sabalenka is our world number 1, and she would be the year-end world number 1 for the second year in a row. And this was a strong season from Sabalenka from start to finish. She won 4 titles in total at Brisbane, Miami, Madrid, and the US Open, and she was also a finalist at the Australian Open, Indian Wells, and Roland Garros, and she held a 59-11 win-loss record. I think overall this is a pretty solid section for Big Lenka, as she is 17-11 overall against her group mates, and in 2025 she's 5-3 against them. I think Gauff would definitely be her biggest threat, as she's the only woman here that she has a losing head-to-head against, although Pegula and Paolini are no pushovers for sure. Sabalenka is 5-6 against Gauff, 8-3 against Pegula, and 5-2 against Paolini. And this marks Aryna's 5th straight finals appearance. Her best result came in 2022, where she finished runner-up at the Dallas WTA Finals, and last year she finished in the semifinals, losing to the eventual champion Coco Gauff. Honestly, Sabalenka hasn't played that much since the US Open. She did play 4 matches at Wuhan, where she eventually fell in the semifinals to Jessica Pegula in 3 sets. Now next is Coco Gauff, all world number 3, and she had a 47-14 win-loss record in 2025. Gauff started the season very strong, leading the U.S. to the United Cup title, but she cooled down for a bit until the clay season, where she made the Madrid and Rome finals before winning Roland Garros. And then she cooled off a little bit after winning Roland Garros, and she picked it back up during the Asian swing, where she made the Beijing semifinals before picking up her second title of the season at Wuhan earlier this month. With Gauff, this section is interesting because Aryna Sabalenka is the only woman that Coco has a winning head-to-head record against, as she is 3-4 against Pegula and 3-3 against Paolini. This is Gauff's 4th straight finals appearance, and of course she is our defending champion, going 4-1 in Riyadh last year. Another American, Jessica Pegula, is next. She's our world number 5. And JPEG is 50-19 on the season. She's really lived up to the nickname Mrs. Consistent, and she's won titles on all 3 different surfaces at Austin, Charleston, and Bad Homburg. She also made the semifinals at the US Open in Beijing and was a finalist at the Wuhan Open earlier this month. It's been a busy fall season for Pegula. Of course, I mentioned her runs in Beijing and Wuhan, but she also played in the Billie Jean King Cup Finals for the United States. I think Pegula might be the most polarizing player here in terms of matchups. She does not have a great head-to-head against Sabalenka, but she has pushed Sabalenka a lot in their last 2 matches, and she still does lead the head-to-head with Gauff, despite losing her last 2 matches against Coco in straight sets. And then she is 5-1 against Paolini, although she just lost to Jasmine 4-2 at the Billie Jean King Cup Finals. This is Jessica's 4th straight WTA Finals appearance, and her best result came in 2023, where she was a finalist at the Cancun Catastrophe Finals. Then last but not least, in the Graf group is Jasmine Paolini, all world number 8. The Italian held a 43-18 win-loss record this year, and she won her 3rd title. That was her highlight when she lifted the title in Rome, the 1000 there, making history, becoming the first Italian to lift the trophy, the winner's trophy, in 40 years. Now, Jasmine did not make a slam quarterfinal this season, but she still has solid results, making the Cincinnati finals and the semifinals of Madrid, Stuttgart, Bad Homburg, and Wuhan. Jasmine is kind of in a similar boat to Pegula. She does have a losing head-to-head against Sabalenka. She has an even head-to-head against Gauff, and she's 1-5 against Pegula. But that lopsided record against JPEG, of course, doesn't really matter much because all of JPEG's wins over Jasmine were before 2024. This is Jasmine's 2nd finals appearance, as she finished 1-2 in the round-robin stage last year. Now, looking at our match predictions from the Graf group, at least in the round-robin stage, first starting out with Sabalenka and Paolini. Of course, as I mentioned, Sabalenka leads the head-to-head 5-2, and she won their last 4 matches all in straight sets. And they played twice this year in the semifinals of both Miami and Stuttgart. These two also played in the round-robin stage of the finals last year, which Sabalenka won 6-3, 7-5. And Paolini has played a lot more post-US Open compared to Sabalenka. She played the Billie Jean King Cup Finals and also Beijing, where she made the quarterfinals, and Wuhan semifinals, Ningbo semifinals. And Sabalenka, she only played, again, Wuhan, where she made the semifinals. So I do have some slight concerns about Paolini being fatigued coming into this tournament, not to mention she is also playing doubles, although doubles will start after singles. But I think she is fit, so I think that she will at least put up a good fight against Sabalenka. I also think that the indoor conditions could favor both kind of equally. She did push Sabalenka a lot in their Riyadh match last year, and she was actually 2 points away from winning the 2nd set, leading it 4-5, love 30 when Sabalenka was serving. Still, this provides a tough matchup for Paolini, especially on hard court, because she isn't able to win many free or easy points on serve. She did serve solid against Swiatek, but she was poor against Coco and Wuhan. Sabalenka is also just better able to dictate points from the ground, especially on hard court against Jasmine, like she did in their Miami Open semifinal. So I will be having Sabalenka take this one in straight sets. Our other matchup on Sunday for the Graf group is Jessica Pegula going up against Coco Gauff, the Battle of the Americans, and Pegula leads the head-to-head 4-3, and Coco, though, has won their last 2 meetings, as I mentioned earlier, in straight sets. Wuhan this year and Riyadh last year, and these two played their opening round match against each other actually last year in the finals as well. And the running narrative, though, is that Pegula doesn't like indoor tennis a whole lot, as she lost all 3 of her finals matches in 2022, and she lost both the matches she played in last year's finals in straight sets. Although, yes, she did have a knee injury, it was ultimately unable to finish her 3rd round-robin match. Jessica was also swept aside pretty handily by Rybakina and Paolini in Shenzhen at the Billie Jean King Cup Finals. I'm also wondering about Jessica's energy level coming into these finals, as she's played a lot of tennis post-US Open. Of course, Billie Jean King Cup, Beijing, Wuhan, and she played 8 straight 3-setters between Beijing and Wuhan. And I definitely have less concern with Gauff. She did go deep in Beijing and Wuhan as well, although her matches were not nearly as long as Pegula's were, especially in Wuhan, where Gauff won the title without dropping a single set. We also know that Gauff clearly likes these conditions, as she won the title last year, and not only will the outside conditions not be a factor for her serve, but her service coach, Gavin McMillan, is with her in Riyadh. Now, thinking back to their Riyadh match from last year, it really wasn't the cleanest from both women. Even Gauff, who ended up winning that one in straight sets, she was clearly very nervous, but Pegula was just so poor with form, it didn't matter. Now, with Wuhan, it was a pretty competitive match. Jessica had looks in both sets, really, but I don't think she had the best serving day. Pegula, she also struggled to penetrate through the court like she did against Sabalenka in the semifinals in Wuhan, and that was really due to Coco's variety of shot with different spins and paces, as well as her just sublime court coverage, and I think that'll be very key in this match as well. I am anticipating Pegula to have a stronger start here because, again, Gauff does tend to start tournaments a little bit shaky, but I think that she'll control it well enough to take this win in 3 sets. So I'm picking Coco in 3 here. Now, briefly running through my other predictions because, I mean, they're kind of subject to change based on form throughout the tournament. Looking at Sabalenka Pegula, Aryna does lead at 8-3, although Pegula won their last meeting in Wuhan 7-6 in the 3rd set. Jessica won that match from 2-5 down in the 3rd set. It was really a phenomenal match, and I think that win was important for Pegula to give her the belief that she can beat Sabalenka. I feel like that was missing in their previous matches, especially that US Open semifinal where she had a decent opportunity to get the Belarusian there. I think, though, Sabalenka will be keen for revenge, especially seeing that she just lost to Pegula, and I also think that with that being her first tournament since the US Open, she wasn't quite on her P's and Q's in Wuhan, and I expect her to be definitely sharp and focused, so I'm going to be having Sabalenka take that one in straight sets. Now, looking at Gauff Paolini, this will be their 5th meeting in 2025 alone, and Paolini won their matches in Stuttgart, Rome, and Cincinnati, although Gauff got her revenge in the Wuhan semifinals, taking that 6-4, 6-3. The serve and returns were major determiners for Gauff in those matches. I do expect both those aspects of her game to be stronger here as well in this match in the finals. I also think that Gauff has found her winning strategy against Paolini of going high and heavy to Jasmine's backhand, but Jasmine did give Gauff way too many forehands and did not attack it like she did previously, so I am expecting her to make some adjustments in that regard, but still I think that Gauff again has cracked the code against the Italian and will take this one in 3 sets. Probably the biggest match here is Sabalenka and Gauff. Of course, it'll be a rematch of the Roland Garros finals, and for sure I think Aryna would be more keen on getting revenge here. I think that she will learn from Roland Garros, and she won't be dealing with the win either, so I think that'll help her. Yes, Gauff did win their last meeting here in Riyadh in straight sets, although Sabalenka did have her looks in taking the first set. I just think that Sabalenka will come out having a little bit more of a chip on her shoulder, and I ultimately think that'll be the deciding factor there. So I'm going to be having Aryna take that one in 3 sets. Now, looking at the other final round robin match, I have Pegula against Paolini. I'm going to be going with Paolini here. As I mentioned, yes, Jessica technically does have the better head-to-head advantage, but Paolini did dominate Pegula 4-2 at the Billie Jean King Cup finals not too long ago. I think that was just a month ago. And I do think at this moment in their careers, Paolini would prefer to play Pegula. I think that she would enjoy playing Jessica. So I think it might be a matchup issue really for the American. So yeah, I'm going to be having Paolini take that one in 3 sets. So looking at my final predictions of how the Graf group will unfold, I have Sabalenka being in 1st place, followed by Coco Gauff in 2nd, and then Jasmine Paolini in 3rd, and Jessica Pegula in 4th. Now, transitioning to talking about the Serena Williams group. First, Iga Swiatek. She is our world number 2, and she is currently 61-15 on the season. Iga had a solid yet underwhelming first half of her 2025. She made the semifinals of Australia, Doha, Indian Wells, Madrid, and Roland Garros, but no finals until she broke the streak at Bad Homburg, and then she went on to win her 6th major title at Wimbledon. And then after that, Iga picked up 2 more titles in Cincinnati and Seoul. It really was not a great Asian swing at all for Swiatek. She suffered some not-so-pretty losses in Beijing and Wuhan to Emma Navarro and Jasmine Paolini. Now, this is a pretty good section for Swiatek. She has no losing head-to-heads against any of these 3 women here. Other women here, she's 1-1 against Anisimova, 6-4 against Rybakina, and she's won all 4 of her matches against Atlanta this season, and she's 5-2 against Keys. Iga's making her 5th straight finals appearance, and she was the 2023 Cancun champion. Next is world number 4, Amanda Anisimova, who is 45-16 on the season thus far, and Amanda has had a really strong breakout season. She won 2 1,000 titles. Her first came in Doha at the start of the season, and then towards the end of the season, she lifted the trophy in Beijing. And she also reached 2 slam finals at SW19 and the US Open. I think the Beijing title made some people give her the title favor for here in Riyadh, and she did withdraw soon after winning Beijing from Wuhan, and she was the first player, it seems like, on site. There's really not too much to say about Amanda in relation to her other group mates. She only played 2 total matches against these women, and both of those were against Iga Swiatek at the last 2 majors. She has actually never played against Rybakina nor Madison Keys, and You really don't want to go to 3 sets against Amanda, as she's won her last 11 3-setters. This is her maiden WTA Finals appearance. Then you have Elena Rybakina, and it's been an interesting season for the Kazakh, and she was the last woman to qualify for these finals, actually. She is the only woman here to not make a final at a 1000 or a slam. And Rybakina, she did pick up 2 500 titles at Strasbourg and Ningbo, and she made the semifinals at Dubai, Montreal, and Cincinnati. She's currently riding a 53-19 win-loss record. Rybakina is 4-6 against Swiatek and 3-3 versus Keys, and she did qualify officially after she won the Ningbo title and reached the semifinals of Tokyo, which she withdrew from due to a back injury, but really she probably was just saving herself and wanting extra time to prep for the WTA Finals. This is her 3rd finals appearance, and she has never made it out of the group stage, going 1-2 in both 2023 and 2024. And last but not least is Madison Keys, who had a red-hot start to the season. She went on a 16-match win streak, including titles in Adelaide and the Australian Open, and those were her lone 2 titles of the season. Maddie did cool off a little bit for the rest of the year, but she still has solid results. She reached the semifinals of Indian Wells and the quarterfinals at Madrid and Montreal. And really, Maddie is going to be the underdog here in this section, not only because she has a middling 2-5 record against Iga, and she is 3-3 against Rybakina, which really isn't too bad, but mainly she has not played since the U.S. Open, where she lost in the opening round. And she did have her thigh taped there, but she said it was more about her being nervous. And she did skip the entire Asian swing. I'm unsure if it was due to injury or if she just maybe wanted time off and wanted a solid training block for the finals. And I'm intrigued, really intrigued to see what Keys gives at Riyadh. She seems to have modified her service motion to be abbreviated. I personally think it looks kind of ugly. I think it's a downgrade in terms of aesthetics, but maybe it could be helpful for her. I mean, you're expecting Keys to be rusty coming into these finals, not playing in 2 months, but Maddie is the most well-rested out of all 8 women, so she could have an edge for sure in that regard. This is Keys' 2nd overall WTA Finals appearance, and it's her 1st since 2016, where she finished in the round-robin stage. Now, looking at our first few matches for the Williams group, looking at Swiatek and Keys, these two played twice this season. Keys won their Australian Open match where she saved a match point, and then Iga got her revenge in Madrid, winning in 3 sets after she got bageled in the opening set. Iga really is not the ideal opponent to play after 2 months off, although Keys can take solace in knowing that Swiatek has been volatile in her last 2 tournaments, as the Polish woman has sprayed a lot on that forehand, and Keys for sure has the firepower to test that side. But something tells me that Swiatek did a lot of work on her game after Wuhan and is going to be back to her more consistent type of game style, or at least she should be. Keys is the type of player that I think needs matches under her belt, and I do anticipate her struggling a bit at first, so I'm going to be having Swiatek take this one in 2 sets. Next is Anisimova and Rybakina, and as I mentioned, it's their first ever meeting, and I am very intrigued in this matchup. It's going to be a true big babe tennis hitting affair, not many long rallies, and they're similar. These two are. Of course, they're both being big hitters and excellent servers, but I might give Rybakina an edge in terms of the serve and the forehand, and I might give Anisimova the edge in terms of her return, backhand, and maybe even movement. Anisimova will probably be more well-rested comparing the two, but Rybakina could have the mental edge, as this is Anisimova's first finals appearance, so we might see some nerves from the American in her first ever WTA Finals match. I do see this one going the distance, 3 sets, and again, with Amanda being the current 3-set queen, I'm going to be siding with her to take this one in 3 sets. Next is Swiatek and Anisimova, and that's going to be definitely a tight one for me to call. I think a lot of it depends on which Iga comes out, and I think if her serve and her ground game was as poor as it was in Asia, she'll lose, plain and simple. Also, I wonder if her forehand will be off, because if it is shaky, I think that's more ammo for Anisimova, who definitely has the firepower to break it down even more here. I was going back and forth on this, but I ultimately sided with Anisimova in 3 because I do maybe sense Swiatek's forehand going off the rails in this match. Then looking at Keys and Rybakina, they played twice this year, both on hard courts. Maddie won their Australian Open match in 3 sets, whereas Rybakina got her revenge in Cincinnati, winning that one in 3 sets as well. I'm feeling Rybakina in 3 there. It's just a feeling. I just feel her in 3. And then lastly is Swiatek, Rybakina to look at, and I think really it's just mental for Atlanta at this point against Iga. And aside from Doha, Rybakina had real opportunities to either win sets in their matches this year or just win, period. As I mentioned, she is 0-4 against Iga. And perhaps the indoors could be the X factor that Rybakina needs to get over the hump and finally beat Swiatek. And I was initially thinking about having her come through, but I'm going to be playing it safe and having Iga take this one in 3 sets. And then last but not least is an All-American battle between Anisimova and Keys. I think that Keys might be in full flight around this point, so it could be really difficult for Amanda. But I do think Anisimova is a little bit more steady, and that'll get her through, in my opinion. So I'm going to be having Anisimova go through in 3. So going over my final group predictions for the Williams group, I'm having Amanda go undefeated, followed by Swiatek in second place, 2-1, and then Rybakina 1-2, and then, I'm sorry, Maddie, but Keys 0-3. For my final predictions in the semifinals, I have Anisimova against Gauff. I have Anisimova taking that, and then another Sabalenka match with Sabalenka taking it. And then in the finals, I have Anisimova against Sabalenka, a rematch of the U.S. Open final with Sabalenka taking it all. I'm not going to delve too deep into explaining my picks because they are, again, subject to change, but I don't know. I feel like this might be Sabalenka's time. I really think she had the season that maybe deserves a second title, and this could be the next best thing to that. I think she's deserving of a WTA Finals trophy, as are all these players, to be honest. But again, she's missing that trophy from her repertoire. I think this might be her year. But it could be any of these women, really. I really don't see Keys, though. Maybe Keys could come out and shock us. I don't know, but I don't really see it from her. Paolini, I don't know if I see her winning. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if she made the finals, but I don't think I see her winning at all. Pegula, maybe she can prove the naysayers wrong and show that she can indeed play indoors, but I don't know. Gauff, I honestly was kind of close to maybe having her win it all again, but yeah, that goes to show I wouldn't be surprised if she did do a repeat. Swiatek, I just don't know. I'm not that confident in her level right now, at least her level heading into the finals. It just hasn't been that great, but maybe she made the improvements that she needed to make again and might surprise us. And then Anisimova, with her and Sabalenka, it was kind of a toss-up for me a little bit, but yeah, ultimately I went with Sabalenka there. That is all I have for my WTA Finals preview and prediction video, and let me know your thoughts on my picks and whether you agree and disagree with my predictions. And feel free, of course, to drop your own picks and predictions in the comments. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more finals content. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.